Welcome everybody, it's Elle Wilson here on True Brow, and it's wonderful to be with you. Today we've got a very, very important topic, and True Brow, let me give you a little bit of a background before we go into what we're going to talk about today. True Brow is connected to Brow Secrets International. We were created by Brow Secrets International actually, and Brow Secrets International is the beauty industry's most comprehensive brow training company internationally, actually. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is on being the brow authority for women around the world. And so it becomes very, very important to me, especially the founder and the creator, to ensure that every woman in the world has all of the correct information she requires when it comes to brows. And why are brows so important? Because they change us, they can transform us. We all know that, and we've begun to really understand that more and more as the years or the decades have gone by, that we can't play around with our brows and move into fashion trends and sort of short-term fixes and gimmicks, because they're far too important. So thank you so much for giving us your time today. I'm going to introduce you to someone very special to me in just one moment, but just a little bit more about why I wanted to bring this topic up. You can imagine that I travel to many countries around the world and do guest speaking, and also all around Australia training in brow. So I train beauty professionals to actually learn the true art of brow design using world-class principles, and additionally how to restore brows naturally, how to correct them, and ultimately how to transform them. So that's my job. Isn't that great? Have a great job. I'm the creator of True Brow and the True Brow collection. So that's very exciting for me. And what I've noticed in many of the masterclasses that I run around the world is that I'm seeing really, I would say hundreds and hundreds of women at a time sometimes coming to us as models. And one of the things I'm seeing a lot of is women coming really devastated about their tattooing or microblading. And I ask them questions, and our True Brow specialists ask them questions, and we're discovering that they don't really, they've sort of stepped into this treatment without full disclosure and without knowing actually the facts. So we have them coming to our classes, and some of them are left with pink discolored brows, red brows, orange brows, purple brows, gray brows, fading, some even scarring, and some where the actual ink has run, and they've got, you know, like a stain on their cheek that they cover up every day, sometimes even 2 sets of brows that they really have to cover. All in all, the majority of them are still looking for a solution, and they're coming to us for help. So as the Brow Authority, what I really wanted to do was bring to you all of the information. I want you, as the women of the world that is really you're committed, just as we are, to your beauty. I wanted to bring you all the information, and I wanted to bring it to you from someone that was a microblader and is now a True Brow specialist and come across to True Brow. She's going to talk to us today. It's Alice Shea from Seattle, and I'm going to introduce her I'm actually going to introduce you to her via camera in just one moment. She really has astounded me with the level of education that she has, the money that she's invested in microblading to educate herself. So she's going to bring all that knowledge across and give you full disclosure today. We are not here to put down any type of service in the beauty industry or anyone in particular. I want you to know that. That's not our way. We always love to value and dignify every human being in the world, and it's very important to me that that comes across very strongly. I'm a huge advocate for the beauty industry. My concern is that the non-regulated tattooing industry at the moment, when it comes to brows and other parts of a woman's face, is a concern, and this is why we're here. So Alice from Blue Bow Lash and Brow in Seattle, and our True Brow specialist, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, Elle. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're delighted that you actually gave us your time today to actually help us to educate women of the world so that they can make great decisions about their beauty. And that we were really clear, weren't we, Alice, before we began this interview, that we're not against anyone or anything. We're not even against microblading. In fact, yet we can see the damage that's happening and the problems women are having. This is not to say that some people are not happy. That's fine. They're not the women we're talking about. We're giving a voice to all the women that are disappointed or having great difficulties. And we want to actually give women the opportunity to know everything before they make a decision about going ahead and doing any sort of tattooing or microblading. That's where we're both coming from, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're not here to put down any one person or any one industry, and we really are just here to educate.
And I think one of the things that is like I mentioned earlier, or just a moment ago, that is my concern is that the microblading industry and tattooing industry now is in many countries so unregulated. So anyone really can train in microblading, and normally, to be a tattooist, to tattoo on someone's body, you have to do a fairly long apprenticeship, don't you? You have to really, truly do a lot of really heavy-duty training. And yet to tattoo someone's brows, someone can do a 2-day course or a 5-day at the most, almost sometimes. I mean, we still have some really amazing people out there that train over months and months, but I'd love them to put their hand up and tell us who they are. But, for the majority of the time, people are training for how long? How long were the courses that you were doing?
It varies state by state. I absolutely went above and beyond the legal requirement. In my state, in Washington State, all you have to do is pass an online bloodborne pathogens test, which most of us can do in about 5 minutes.
Right.
And pay the Department of Licensing a check, and you're a microblader.
Wow.
No proof of any training in tattoo or microblading is required. That is completely on the service provider and their conscience.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, in my state, all you have to do is pass a bloodborne pathogens test, not have a felony record, and be able to pay the Department of Licensing the processing fee. That's it.
Wow. I mean, I'm really shocked, like really, truly. I didn't even know that. When I was in Vegas recently, guest speaking for Brow Secrets International, I went to the dry bar, Elle Webb's dry bar. Elle Webb, gorgeous, gorgeous. Love her salons, love her dry bars. They're fantastic. And I went in there, and a beautiful girl that was doing my hair actually said that in Vegas, apparently there's a 3-hour course. And, the tattooing that they're seeing is just
wow.
so terrible. Wow. And women are just so unhappy. One of the things I wanted to say that's really fascinated me is when I'm speaking to women that have even had issues, like their brows might be orange and they're discolored, and you can't just, as we're going to find out in a minute, you can't just keep going back and getting the tattoo over and over again on the same area. But we'll talk about that in depth in a minute. But one of the things that really fascinates me is that so many of the women I'm speaking to seem to take responsibility for their tattoos going wrong or not being the right shape or discoloring. And it fascinates me because to me, the first thing I think of is, did you go back and speak to them and say, well, look, I'm really unhappy? And they say, oh, no, it's just my skin. And I'm thinking, wow, what is going on here? And I want to also talk about, if we can, Alice, really, what are the reasons so many of your clients that came looking for microblading and tattooing, what were they looking really for? And does this service really deliver what it promises? That's the important thing. I mean, that's the key, most significant thing. But let's go through our questions one step at a time. So I do want to put up here, Adam, how are you? That's wonderful. It's good to see you. I just want to put up the next question, which is, one of the questions that, one of the things that women have told me is that microblading and tattooing is a completely different thing, and that I'm not getting a tattoo, I'm getting microbladed. Now, tell us a little bit about that.
I feel like whoever pushed the term microblading is a marketing genius, because it's in some ways successfully disassociated what's actually happening from tattoo, because I feel that once you use the word tattoo, a few things click on in the head, and people are more aware of the shortfalls of tattoo, the odd shapes, the warping of color, the strange, the scarring that can occur. And all they did is just change the word, but it's still tattoo. It absolutely is still tattoo.
And I think also they've used other terms too, haven't they? Again,
Yes.
we're not against these people.
Yes.
We're educating the public. We want young girls, mums with teenage daughters that are coming to us telling us their teenage daughters want to get a tattoo or a microblading because it's the next best thing. And it's like, what a disaster. Wow. Just for a young woman, teenager, the disasters that we've seen. This is not to say that for the people that are happy, we're not talking about them. There is a small percentage. We're talking about all of the people that we're seeing coming to us with disasters and things that, services they're not happy with. We want to get clear about that. But, they'll use other words, won't they? Like powder. Is that, you would know the ombre brow. Is it a powder? Yeah.
I feel that powder brow and ombre brow is treading closer back to what a traditional tattoo is, but they do use the manual pen to now produce a powder technique instead of doing blading or stroking. Another term is micro stroking or eyebrow embroidery.
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
Yes, and powder brow and ombre brow absolutely still are forms of traditional permanent cosmetics or microblading, and that is still definitely all under the umbrella of tattoo.
Do you know what I find amazing actually too is that in America they call it permanent PMU, which is permanent makeup. I think in Australia we call it semi-permanent, or for years we did. I'm not so sure what we call it now, but it's semi-permanent. It's the same thing, and it's kind of like, how confusing is it for the average woman that is looking on Instagram and seeing sort of a brow, and she thinks, oh wow, I want a brow like that every single day. It's just so confusing, isn't it? And it's kind of like, let's hope we can get rid of all this confusion and women can make really great decisions. I'm so looking forward to this interview. It's only going to get better and better, I can just tell. So let's have a look now at what are the risks associated really with microblading, or should we call it microblading? Yeah, let's call it microblading and throw in the word tattooing every now and again in case anyone missed that. But even before that, Alice, I just feel like I want to go with the flow with this interview. I want us to really, we've got lots of questions, and some of these questions people have sent through to us and are requesting for us to give them the true answers to. But I want to just go back just a little bit and look at what are women wanting, like when they sat with you and they said to you, because of course you were only going by what your trainers were telling you that was possible, right? Correct?
Yep. Yes.
So, there's a lot of money in training and tattooing. How much was it costing you for a class to get trained, and how long was that class, for example, if you could give us an idea?
Anywhere from $4,000 for a 3 or 4 day class, all the way up to $6,000 for a 6-day class. So we're talking $1,000 a day in training. Yeah. And even with all the classes I took, I still don't feel it was actually enough to replace an actual real curriculum.
Correct. And sometimes, of course, like a 3 or 4 day class is a long class. Like you're also looking at girls that are trainers that are out there training in 2 days, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
1 day. And then where do these girls go and practice? I mean, when did you go and start? Where did your practice really begin? I mean, how many models did you do in a class on average?
On average, in a 6-day class, 3 models. And that was considered a lot of models.
Right. So then, of course, you'd have to go into your studio, into your salon, and actually then start really practicing on clients, on people coming in. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's interesting when money is a factor, when the training dollars, when the training dollars are so high, so a trainer in, a week, they can pull in like over $30,000 $40,000, depending on how many people in a class, or, you know, it's a lot of money. So it's kind of very, when we start mixing beauty and money, we have a real problem. We see that all the time, don't we? When it's not about what is of value, what's the best for our beauty, what's the best for our women in the world, when that is confused with money, you know, it just blurs all the lines. So it's no longer about what's best for the woman. It actually is about what's, you know, well, how quickly can I pull in all this money? And you know, it's kind of like, you know, we can't just let everyone go and add and tattoo women. It's not even necessary.
Right.
So, you know, we've just got an influx now. Everywhere you go, everyone's microblading. Where do you go to a salon where there's no microblading? Once upon a time, you know, it was a specialty skill that was reserved for when a woman really, really needed it, and there was no alternative. And so it was like 1 or 2% of the population. But suddenly, you know, all of a sudden people decided, well, hang on, we can really, you know, train a lot of people and make it almost like normalize it a little bit.
Yes.
And we're going to find out why that's a real problem for the woman and for her long-term beauty in a second. So, okay, so that's good. So we know that. So can you tell our audience, when a woman does come in, what are the things that she is looking for when she comes in and sits with you? So not now, but when you were, you know, a microblader, what were the things that she was looking for?
I feel that it was the top 2 things that women are looking for that attract them to microblading are wanting to correct something about their eyebrows that they don't like, that they think cannot be achieved naturally. And secondly, they want to simplify their routine. They want to not have to do their eyebrows anymore. And so they want, so they think this is just going to be the thing that solves all their problems. It's going to give them the brows that they've always wanted. It's going to correct the issues they've always disliked. And they're never going to have to spend another couple of minutes on their brows in the morning.
Well, I think, you know, that's so great, isn't it? Because one of the marketing lines that I used to read was, you know, wake up with your makeup on, you know, every day. This whole idea that you'd wake up and your brows would just be perfect all day, every day. Well, you know, is that actually, I mean, I can give you the answer to that, but I want you to tell us, is that actually with your experience and all of the time that you've spent, is that really true? Is it true that women actually, in fact, can just have some microblading or tattooing and don't have to worry for 3 years or a year? Or,
you know, no, it's not, because the nature of microblading, the reason that it produces a more realistic look than traditional tattoo is that the strokes are very shallow. They implant the pigment at a more shallow depth than traditional tattoo. That's what maintains the crispness of the lines compared to tattoo, which can get a little more blurry, or the edges are just a little more blurry. The deeper you go, the more blurry the edges can get. So to maintain a hyper-realistic look, you have to stay shallow, which unfortunately means that the tattoo will fade much quicker. So, sometimes it doesn't fade. In fact, it just doesn't fade. It fades, but it discolors. Yeah, and it's very naughty. It fades in certain areas, and then it will just cling on until you die in other areas. And so you end up with something, most people would come back for touch-ups because they got patchy.
Correct.
And that is very common.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things about not having to do anything with your brows, we'll go into having to maintain them, of course, but also, you know, what I found that women that are coming to us are saying to us, well, I went in to have it so I wouldn't have to do anything to my brows, and I have to go in for regular touch-ups, like I've had 2 this year, which is very dangerous, right? We're going to talk about that too. There's so many things to talk about. But the thing is, then they're telling me and our specialists that I just have to continue to shade my brows every day to correct them, or to, you know, fill in all the patches, or to fill in the color. that is now red or orange or blue or grey and so on and so on. So we have all these kind of risks that these women are just not being told up front. They're just not being told. Now, I want to correct that. Forgive me. As far as I know, most people will not sit down with a woman. I mean, I'm hoping to goodness that there are people out there, professionals out there that are saying, look, these are the risks. Are you aware that your brow could, I don't know what color it's going to turn. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know where it's going to fade. I'm telling you these things up front because these are the risks. This is not a risk-free service. I mean, I'm hoping there are professionals like that out there, but I'm just, I've only done 2-day course and, I don't know if people are doing that. I wish that was happening so women were not at risk, because I think the woman that's using Instagram and YouTube and Facebook to make her decisions, or even bloggers or whatever, even a magazine article, right, where one thing's happening 1 month and we don't know what's happening in 6 months' time to the person that wrote the article or the blogger that wrote the article. If we're using that kind of information, then we're not going to get the absolute ultimate truth. So we're seeing the women that are coming and going, oh my God, look at my brows, which is, for me, this is why we're having this conversation. So going back to what I was just saying, the women are saying, I've got to shave my brows in every single day. And then, of course, they're saying, oh, it's my skin. Like this lady said this to me on the weekend. I couldn't believe it. I said to her, what do you mean? And she said, oh, it's because of my skin. And I said, well, I mean, I looked at her skin. It wasn't oily. She didn't have an overly oily skin. She had a beautiful skin. I said to her, who said that to you? And so this is what they're being told, to sort of deflect the responsibility. And she shades in every day. And she was going back for another session. So we now know that isn't true, that, there is, and the majority of the time there's lots of maintenance. They still have to, trim their brows, clean up their brows, and so on. That's a regular thing that has to happen, correct?
Correct. And Elle, the experience you described is quite typical. You're not describing the unfortunate outlier. This is something that happens to a good percentage of women who undergo microblading.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. And for us, it's heartbreaking. We talk about this a lot, don't we, in our community, how heartbroken we are when we have these women that are coming and all we're seeing is this just like I've actually, some of the microblading I've seen, it's just broken my heart. I just don't know what to say to the woman. And I mean, we can certainly go in and attempt to soften with the collection, which we do, which is so amazing. A lot of what our true brow specialists now are doing are having to actually go in and work on correcting, doing anything they can do, which you probably are doing a lot of too, Alice, to help women that are not happy. What about when women are told that, well, you can just come back and get another treatment, a top-up, as they call it. How many top-ups can someone actually get? I mean, is that really true that you can just keep, if you're in your 20s or you're in, how many top-ups do you think someone could honestly have?
Honestly, as this is me leaning into my experience now as an esthetician, it's quite frightening because the first initial service happens and then you want your next top-up within 4 weeks. And some people are coming back in anywhere between 6 to 12 months because, the pigment is metabolized, it's getting really patchy. And that is that's a good indication of the rate that they're going to need topping up about every year, every 8 months. And I think it's quite frightening to think of when you consider that this is happening over the span of years or decades. And I did wonder myself what's going to happen to these women's natural brows when menopause hits and the body is already naturally losing hair. Every hair is precious at that point.
Don't talk about menopause.
But you've been cutting into your hair follicles and causing inflammation and just constantly traumatizing it. And I feel that at that point, you're lucky if you don't end up with some scar tissue as well.
So we are seeing a fair bit of women with scar tissue because they're going back too often. And the other thing is that it's also determining the depth. Like, how do you measure the depth that you're actually going in? You know, like the technician has to actually figure that out, right?
Yes, the technician has to figure it out. They're told 0.5 millimeter. And I don't know any human in existence that can gauge 0.5 millimeter by hand perfectly. And the depth of the skin changes from the inside of the brow out to the outside. The skin changes dramatically, and your technician has to adjust the depth. They have to go softer as they move. It's insane. We're talking fractions of millimeters make all the difference.
Wow. It's just incredible, isn't it? I'm astounded at it sounds to me from what you're saying that it's such an intense education, you know, that someone would need to be, like, we train our true brow specialists for how many years? Like, you know, we have girls that are training with us for 4 years for natural brow. And we're talking about something that, to me, from what I'm hearing you say, is like should be like a 3-year course, should be like an apprenticeship, you know, and then someone should go out and even begin. You know, it's just amazing. Tell us, the other day when we were on class, you were sharing so brilliantly all about the metabolizing and so on and the fading and everything. Could you share with us a little bit about that so that the women out there can really understand just how deeply you understand what you're actually speaking about and how knowledgeable you are, and why I chose you to actually come and you know, for us to speak together, because I love how much you know about this topic. So can you share a little bit more about that with everyone?
Well, microblading is not something that can be taught within just a matter of days, because it's all about striking very delicate balances. Even when you're mixing your colors, different skin tones have different depths of coolness and warmth to them that your technician needs to adjust as you're mixing the color. There's no universal colors you can point to and say this is, and guarantee that the brown that you see in the bottle is the brown that's going to turn up in the person's skin a month afterwards, because their skin will affect the final result. And you have to have a very experienced technician who can just take a look at your skin and know just how much to modify the warmth or the coolness of the pigment they're implanting into your skin. That's all from experience, and that can't be learned in a matter of days.
How do they even do that, Alice? Like, really, because like I know with our True Brow collection, which is just, we're talking brow cosmetics, right? They stay on all day. Yep, we know how great they are, but we're not talking about True Brow here today. Really, we want to talk about, this is us coming forward really as the Brow Authority, really educating women in the world. How can, like, even with the True Brow collection, we have to put on S01 and then do S02 because body chemistry is doing funny things with a color that, you know, it's not about light, medium, and dark. So how would they ever, there's just no guarantee. As far as I'm concerned, if there was a guarantee and someone could sign off on it and say, you know, I guarantee this is going to be the color that's not going to discolor, and if it does, I'm going to give you back your money, then I would go, well, you know what, I'm prepared to go to that person and talk to them more, right? But if they're not signing off on it, you know, what is actually really going on? This is the thing, isn't it? How can they know? They just simply cannot know.
No, you're guessing, and you're using, and if you have the good fortune of having a very good teacher and who put you through a very strong apprenticeship program, you have the benefit of that education to lean on. But for these girls that are getting churned out of 2, 3, 4-day workshops, you just have to refer back to your notes, make the best guess you can. And if your client comes back with orange brows, you know you put too much warmth modifier in there. And if they come back with blue or gray brows, you know you should have done more. And your clients sort of turn into your guinea pigs.
But it fascinates me when as I was saying earlier, the client is taking this. It's almost like the client is made to feel like it's their fault, rather than hang on a minute. Do I have all the information? And Jo just mentioned here. She said, "Hi, I'm so glad you're doing this video." Thank you, Jo. We're really happy we are too, and we hope that the industry as a whole. And women as a whole really see that what we're doing is we're just educating. We don't want to do anything but just give you everything you deserve to make a really powerful decision. And we're not against anyone. And for those microbladers out there that are doing a wonderful job, that are truly, truly, truly getting amazing results, you're not going to be offended. You're not going to feel threatened because,
No.
But
because they're the same ones advocating for better education.
But hopefully for those that might even get something out of this video and go, you know what, like the amount of girls that I get like you, that come to me and say, Elle, I've done all these microblading courses, or I've done microblading, I don't touch it. I don't even give it to my clients. Can you please train me? Can I please be a true brow specialist? I really want to know how to make a brow absolutely amazing naturally. I know that it's possible because I'm seeing what your girls are doing around the world. We're getting so many that are doing that, but sadly, because it's not regulated, we're also getting people that think that they can make $300 from home or in a salon, or $700, and in some cases $1,400, just like that, bam, 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 one after the other. And it's just so alluring. And yet, you have to, with money, you have to also bring in values. And if you're not, if your values are not higher than the want for the money can't be the thing that drives us when it comes to a woman's beauty. The money has to always be secondary. First has got to be the value that we're offering. Do we know what we're doing? Is this right for this woman? And I think that's where my heart is, So when I see these women that have got red brows and they're walking around and they're little old ladies and they're so deflated, this is what this information is for. Young women who have got scarring because they've just been told that, yes, we'll do it again and we'll do it again. And how many times can you blade someone's brow?
Right.
And what's the effect that you're having? And also then if they've got a design, we haven't even spoken about design yet. Right. Well, that's another one, right? Oh, we could be here all day. So tell us a little bit more about the metabolizing and the fading.
The fade, well, a lot of it, so it depends on so many things. Even the depth of how deep you go can change how the color reads, because the skin does affect how the color comes through. So if you send it in too deep, and remember, we're also talking about fractions of millimeters. Right. I burp or I hiccup and automatically it's too deep. That can change how the color reads. And it absolutely, there is this idea, this fantasy, I call it, of the very elegant fade where the entire brow fades at the same rate.
It can never happen.
It never happens. So I'll tell people, one spot will fade first, another will just hang on for dear life, and then this might fade. And patchy really is the best word to describe it.
And so
that's very normal.
And so then the woman is just left really having to shade in just to either cover the discoloration, or she's forced every day to have to put it on, or to hide the patchiness or correct it because one's higher than the other and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's what we kind of looking at really. Let's go further. Let's go into, we had here, what are the risks? Yeah. What are the risks of microblading? Is there anything additional that you want to add to that? Because I think we sort of kind of covered it, because you know me, I go all over the place. Just go with the flow, Alice.
And honestly, really, all of the risks that we already knew were associated with traditional tattoo, which gave tattoo the stigma, carry over with microblading to a degree. Microblading absolutely has its own versions of every risk associated with traditional cosmetic tattoo.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. And is there anything else you want to add to that at all? I know that our girls in our community, that because they see and in the beauty industry, come to us and ask us all these questions, and we don't have time to answer all of them. So I'd love to do a series maybe on other things, and just even if girls can send in their questions, and then we can come back and we can answer them again, and get you as the expert to share with us. I also want to say that I have one friend of mine and a colleague who is in Italy, and she teaches PMU. I adore her. She is a true professional. And so I really want to say again, I have to say this because I really want to be heard in this, and this is not about making people wrong. It's about educating you. You're the one we're talking to. We want you to have all the information, because we don't need anything from you. We have no agenda. We love women being empowered and making their own decisions. So we're not here to get you to come to True Brow. If you're having problems with tattooing and your tattoos are discolored, or they're a bad shape, or they're fading, you can. But that's not what this is about. I don't have an agenda. Alice doesn't have an agenda. We're not here with agendas. We're here with open hearts, really educating you, giving you all the facts so that you can make an empowered decision for your beauty, because we're talking about long-term beauty that you cannot reverse. We're seeing women who cannot reverse what's happened. This is the situation that we're in, and it's something that needs to be spoken about. That is absolutely for sure. Now, can microblading allow me to stop wearing brow makeup? We did speak about that. I'm going to put that up because I want to just go over that again, just a little bit more. What I hear is the complete opposite to that. So many of women that I've spoken to and that have come to us having to put brow makeup on because of their tattooing. But you tell us a little bit about that too.
Well, for a short period of time, you might be able to get away with not wearing makeup, but there is a caveat to that, which is, does it look good?
Yeah.
And that it's the design question. And so what I tell people is that the more permanent the solution is, the harder and bigger of a sledgehammer you're taking. I never ever saw a permanent or semi-permanent version of the Chanel brow. I think the best microbladers in the world, there are very, very good ones out there that do produce very good work. And this is completely my opinion. This is not representative of Brow Secrets International or True Brow, but from what I've seen, my opinion is that the best level of brow that I've ever seen from microblading is maybe a Macy's brow. You might find one person who can produce maybe a Nordstrom brow. What you're really finding are permanent or semi-permanent Kmart brows.
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about Chanel brows and producing the Chanel brow, we're actually saying the quality of design that the quality of design cannot be replicated, and I think that because it's hair by hair.
It's hair by hair.
It's not stroke by stroke, right? And one of the things I also want to say, that if a True Brow specialist is not on our website, if you go to truebrow.com and you look in our locate or our directory, and someone says, "Oh, I trained with them," but they're not on our directory, we are not endorsing them, because we're a mastery-based education organization, which means that you never stop learning. Can you imagine, like Christian Dior, Chanel, if they were to run if they were alive, and if they were to, we've got to go there first, if they were still around, and they were to run a course on fashion, what would they do? A 2-day course, a 6-day course? There's no way. Their students would be like in there, like long term for the rest of their lives, like learning and growing and producing and designing and delving in. And I think that's what we talk about with design. How do you find a beautiful design for a woman using a ruler or using a piece of thread or using some sort of apparatus If you don't know how to fully, truly restore and design a brow first, and you're not training with us, then if you want to microblade, I say to the microbladers out there, come and do our training first. Come and learn how to at least do a design for a woman so that her natural brow can be brought back to as much as it possibly can. This is the point, isn't it? Like, why give someone the tattooing alternative when the things it's saying that it can do, it isn't actually doing?
It's not even actually doing.
So,
and when I want beautiful brows.
Yes.
If I
we all
told
want
them
beautiful brows.
Right. Most women, I give them the options where you can have a permanent brow that's mediocre, or you can literally be wearing Dior on your face.
Yeah.
But
and why wouldn't you want that?
Dior. They choose Dior.
I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't you want like a brow that's designed like that? That women come to us with nearly no brow, and within 6 months.
And now I wanted to add that we were talking about rulers and tricks and measurements, and we see a lot of that on Instagram. And I feel that the public is, if anybody in the public is impressed by that, by the lines and the rulers and the calipers, the reason I'm not is because as a brow designer, I'm thinking again from the fashion alternative. I thought to myself just today, can you imagine when Meghan Markle was planning her wedding to Prince Harry and she went to Givenchy and they took out rulers, they took out a book and they told her, well, according to your body type, you should have this. It was a very cookie cutter approach. She would have walked right out. She wants a custom, bespoke, high-end couture dress. She doesn't want tricks. She doesn't want, little tools that come out. Short-term fixes. She wants the designer to do the thinking, not the tools.
It's interesting. I was listening to someone the other day that really spoke to me. They were speaking about the bubble, and the next best thing. The beauty industry, actually every industry is good at that. Even the financial industry, there's always some new thing you can go and invest in. But it's the people that actually look for what they really, really want. What do you really want? Ask yourself the question. Yes, you want to not have to put brow makeup on every day on your brows. But you know what? There is no risk-free solution for that. Even now we've got the whole henna craze that's going on. But again, we've got discoloration, we've got flaking, when the person's picking it, are they taking out their hair? There's all these complexities. Women have to ask themselves, Alice, really, what do they really want?
Yes.
And now they have to understand that finally in the world there is a brand, a company, a group of professionals that have put their heart and soul into continuing their education weekly, correct?
Right.
It's actually really happening. And it is, isn't it? It's really happening. To actually give women what they really want. So, you can't blame the industry. Wherever there's a gap or there's an opportunity to make money, something's going to come in and drive women to another hot kind of thing or the next best thing. But the reality of it is that the beauty professional, and so many of them are contacting us now, very big salons, and they're saying, we don't want that anymore. We are, and a lot of these people are doing microblading and they're saying we just don't want to do it anymore. It's not right for our long-term clients. Like, it's just not working. Can you please teach us, train us how to design a brow from start to finish, even no matter what condition it's in, to bring it back to something beautiful for the woman so that she can feel feminine, soft, elegant, and magnificent, And when we say to them, but it's mastery-based learning. This is not 2 days. You're going to have to keep on learning, keep consistent. And this is the thing, when people are not on our directory and they've stopped continuing their education with us, they're not jumping on live webinars and feedback sessions, and their brows change. So we can't endorse them. All of a sudden you look back on someone that you trained and they're not training with you anymore, and you look at their brow work and you're thinking, oh gosh, what's going on there? What happened? Life happens, things change. People's ideas are implemented into something that is so pure and so beautiful. It's like taking a Chanel design and changing it. Why would you? It's absolute perfection. Why would you go and change it? So the idea of salon owners around the world coming and saying, please train us, give us this training, because it's what you're doing is really beautiful. It's really, for me as a creator and the founder, I feel really humble, and I feel like in a way, it's difficult to come up and talk about these topics when undoubtedly you'll have people that may in the industry feel threatened, or they might not be happy with what we're saying. Yeah. But sometimes you've got to rise above the fear, all the time, actually. You've got to rise above, and you've got to just tell the truth. And in a way, it's almost like just saying, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to put myself in a place where I might get hammered, right? Or I might have people just upset with me. But you know what? I just know in my heart I have to share this with women of the world, because I've got an expert right here, right beside me, that's you, who has got so much to say, so much to share, that is going to enlighten the women of the world and give them full disclosure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I, like for me, that I have to wear the whatever comes at me because of it, and I have to do it anyway, because women and their beauty, it's been I've been in the industry over 33 years, and women in the industry, for me, it's so important. I love our industry. I love the beauty industry, and we have to keep the quality of the beauty industry high. We have to stand up for what we love. We have to stand up for what we believe in. We can't keep going into short fixes, and as an industry. Right. And as an industry, we have to hold the ground for women and be the voice that they can trust. I mean, right now, Alice, with women, they've got so many voices telling them what to do, don't they?
They do. And you were saying that your heart really goes to the women who take the onus of the failure onto themselves. And my heart really goes also to the service providers. So if there's anybody listening right now feeling very uncomfortable with what we're saying, or possibly feeling threatened, we're not telling you that you did anything wrong. I believe that the trust the clients place into the service providers, that they must know what they're doing. We did the same thing when we handed our money over, our time and our money over to trainers. We assumed, rightfully so, that we could believe everything they were saying. And I feel that there are a lot of you out there that, if you could just open your heart for a minute and just really reflect, you probably understand what I'm thinking and what I'm saying when I say, we turned around full of confidence and full of hope, and realized that there was just so much that we didn't know. And that same internalizing of blame that our clients did, we did to ourselves as well. Like, we tell each other, oh, you know what, this is just the continuing education that we need to pursue. This is just the life of a permanent cosmetics artist. That was just the beginning. Our education should keep going. But I feel like when the stakes are so high that we're talking about permanent alterations to people's faces and bodies, we can't be continuing our education on our clients. We should have come out right from the gate with that confidence and with the knowledge in hand. And we're not getting it because we kind of got had by some trainers as well. Not to say that there aren't good trainers out there. I feel that there are a lot of excellent trainers out there that are pioneering for stricter education standards, such as in my own home state. I've got amazing permanent cosmetics artists who are just really, really pushing for the higher standards. And I absolutely salute them for fighting the good fight, because it needs to happen.
I agree. I think it's lovely, and I think the clarity that I want to go one step further, and I'm probably going to be a little bolder than you, Alice. Should I? Shouldn't I? Oh my gosh! I am going to do it because, I am going to put myself out there. And I think that right now, because of how unregulated the industry is right now, might not be forever, but right now, because it's so unregulated, I would tell every single woman, just don't do it. Go and see, this isn't about promoting True Brow really, because, we don't need to do it. True Brow is standing up on its own. But unless you've gone and seen a True Brow specialist or contacted True Brow and asked us for our opinions, our advice, our support to help you, send through a photo, even put a photo up on our social media and say, these are my brows, what could someone do? Whatever, we're here for you. Don't take the risk. I mean, I want to go over some of the things that I've seen because I think it's important. In one of our master classes, I saw a woman with 2 tail ends to her brow, like completely. And I said to her, wow, that's terrible. And she said, oh yeah, I just conceal it. And I think that, what I felt from her, actually another one had a big blob of
I remember that
color in Vegas, and she conceals it every day. But one of the things that I've noticed, as I said earlier, is that women, I think maybe because they've made the decision and they feel either embarrassed or they feel that it was such a tragic mistake, that in fact they feel a little embarrassed about admitting that they've made an error in judgment. So they're kind of like this wild kind of thing that's going on that I'm sort of fascinated, and I think I'm saying to these women, this is not your fault. If you are unhappy, please put your hand up. Don't pay for touch-ups every year. Don't go for touch-ups every year, because you're endangering your skin, and scarring, once it happens, that's it. And young girls, please, for goodness sakes, understand that this is not the idea that's been given to you, is not what you're seeing on Instagram. One day I'm going to reveal my own story, because I think it's going to be a good thing. We'll do that together, Alice. One day I'm going to share more about my personal story, because I think it's good. I think it's good for people, for us to do that, and don't feel like you've done something wrong. If you don't have all the information, all you were trying to do was feel better. You were just trying to look better. You were trying to feel better every day. You want to put your best face forward. So don't feel bad about what you've done. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake, and oh my goodness, I don't know. Like, a lot of the time you hear husbands say anything but tattooed brows. It's not like, it's just, honestly, there is an alternative. So let's have a look at, there is a question here that's been written. I didn't see this question actually, but someone's put it through saying, why should I choose the upkeep associated with True Brow rather than choosing microblading? Okay, it's a question. Thank you. And it says unjust, and I don't know what the unjust is. So we can talk about this. Why would you think, Alice, in your experience as someone that was doing microblading and invested in it really heavily and now turned to True Brow, what would you say to that?
The only way to get the most beautiful eyebrow is not tattoo. You just can't, and what people want is beauty. If we wanted, just convenience, there are a lot of other ways to get it. But what they want is beauty. And the beauty that True Brow has been able to produce has been, tattoo has just not been able to touch it.
Yeah.
It's, and so what women want is beauty. And if you want the utmost beauty, you just have to go the natural route. I just have not seen its counterpart in the tattoo world.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. And the upkeep, is every 2 weeks. You go in, you get a maintenance, you have your brows
Mhm.
continue to be improved, and the design is upkept, and you're really working with specialists, people that have really studied. I think women have to decide for themselves what it is that they actually really want, and if the risk isn't too, you're prepared for the risk of having to wake up every day with orange brows or red brows or whatever. Well, then
Uneven brows.
uneven. Then maybe it's okay to go and to have a microblading, but there's just no guarantees. And so I think our next chat should be about henna. We should talk about this whole idea of henna and this craze of henna. What do you think, Alice? Let's put it out there, and let's talk about why True Brow, why we don't use henna, why we don't recommend henna, why we don't recommend our artists use henna. But we haven't got time today. We're going to finish up today because we've had a lovely talk. Mm-hmm. And I want to bring in this next topic for everyone to tune into. We might do it. We'll put it up on Facebook and let everyone know when we're going to do that. But questions, please throw them at us, and let us know how we can help you to achieve the beauty, the brow beauty that you are looking for, because you are looking for it. And so you should. Your brows are really, really important. And one of the things that I love the most really about the collection, I want to put this in because I think this is one of the reasons that women are going towards microblading, is achieving fullness. Yes. Thinking I don't have a full enough brow, yes. And microblading is going to give it to me. Well, that is exactly what our collection does. It gives you instant fuller brows, bam, just like that. You couldn't even tell that you've got anything on your brows. And yes, you have to put it on every day, but you don't have to put it on during the day. You put it on once and that's it. Mm-hmm. And then the next morning you put it on again, and which is absolutely wonderful because you're in full control. Yes. You're waking up every day. And how long does it take, Alice? It takes me about 30 seconds to put on my brows. It's the fastest thing I've ever used.
It's so quick. It's so quick. So when we talk about upkeep, it is ridiculously simple. It's a beautiful product. And you're not going to promote True Brow, but I'm going to for a moment. But
we've got to be careful. Yes. We don't want women to think we're educating them so we can. But we have been talking about True Brow. We weren't going to, but look what happens. We can't help it, can we? We love it so much.
Yes. Well, what I love. But go on. I love is that there's an accountability. We were talking about the industry being unregulated, and what I love about being part of the True Brow family is that there's accountability. You can't fake a True Brow Instagram program because all it takes is one email to our support to see if this person is one of our brand ambassadors and has gone through our education to confirm that. I actually just spent this morning when I first woke up, I found out someone stole old microblading photos and was passing on my work on Instagram. And the links this girl went to hide her tracks, she was coming up with fake tags saying, "Thank you at so-and-so. It was great seeing you," fake accounts. And even if you think you're a great investigator and you're really, really looking into this, microblading artist, there is a lack of accountability that, it's something that I love at True Brow. We are so accountable to each other. You can't fake being a True Brow specialist.
And I think, like Joe's just mentioned henna brows and how her clients love them. Well, Joe, I just want to say we're going to talk more about henna. We're going to tell you why we don't use henna. I think you need to know that. And clients love microblading too. So, it's ultimately even the beauty professional has to think to herself, what is it that I really want to give my clients? What is it absolutely, honestly, that what I want my clients to have? And why does henna interfere with that? And if True Brow believed that henna was the answer, we would be saying use henna, but it's not the answer. And the true answer is to be able to work with your clients with their brows and truly be able to give them a brow that they're completely in love with till the end of their days, where they're actually completely building their brow. This is not just about putting on and staining the skin. when we first started, before we finish up, we had another brow company when we first came out that was staining the skin with tint. And they still do it. And some clients absolutely love it. And now it's like, well, let's stain the skin with henna. But is that what you want, stained skin? Don't you want a magnificent brow that actually looks like it's your absolute natural brow, and that it's not discoloring, it's not fading in spots, you don't have to shade it in at all? Don't you want a brow that when you walk out, people are just saying to you, my gosh, wow. I mean, that's one of the biggest things, is the compliments women get with True Brow. Don't you want to be complimented about your brows? And I think that, that's why we need to talk about this whole next sort of big thing, which is henna. And we want the industry, not only, but the women really, to understand why we don't use it, why we don't recommend it, why we stay away from these gimmicks, stay away from these quick fixes, and really begin to give your client a standard of beauty that builds their respect for you, their trust in you. And also, they're raving about you because you're the only one that can do it, So it's beautiful to be here. And if we found that miracle thing that could stop people from having to spend 30 seconds to put on a little bit of brow product on their brow every morning, we'd tell you about it, wouldn't we?
We would be all over it.
Yeah. But we're certainly not going to be doing any quick fixes, that's for sure. Women deserve so much more than that. Alice, thank you so much for being with us. What time is it in Seattle right now?
9:30 in the evening, 9:30 p.m.
Wow, so that's not, I thought it was like much later than that. So that's not too bad. So that's fine. No. Thank you so much for being with us, ladies. Thank you so much for giving us your precious time and allowing us to share with you what we know, our expertise, our education and our experiences too with various things. Alice, thank you very, very much for taking time out of your evening. And we're going to be back. Shall we be back again?
Yes.
Let's talk about more things brows and beauty. Why not? Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Alice. Thank you to our audience. And if you watch later, remember to leave your comments. And if you want any help with your brows, contact us. Take care now.